before I get into today's reading, I want to shout out Red Mirage on Twitter, who just released the second book of his series, Painting the Mists, on Amazon. He publishes the story for free on Railroad Legends. It's really cool to see original English Xianxia novels like Blue Phoenix, so if you're looking for a new read, go check it out and let him know what you think. He's at Red Mirage on Twitter. Today, I'm going to be reading God and Devil World by Zi Chan Bao Zeng. Hopefully that's even close. Thank you, Luo Fu Chen. You'll probably throw me under the bus on that one. But it's currently being translated by Kun of Translation Nation, which is where I read Stellar Transformations back in the day. This first chapter was actually translated by Rising Dragons. I do want to preface that this is a more mature novel. I know I talked about it earlier in the podcast, but there's a lot of really dark and graphic themes. The author also has a lot of nationalist views, which can come off as pretty racist at times. You only see those when you're in the first world of Earth. Outside of that, it kind of assuages from those, but once you return to Earth, it returns again. If these themes really bother you, you may want to pass on it, but if you're looking for a cool story with a lot of cool action, like themes and world building, and don't mind the mature content, it's definitely a fun binge read. It reminds me of Terror Infinity mixed with High School of the Dead, but not in the ways you'd assume, more in the ways that it's set in a modern day Earth and has various worlds with creatures from mythos and legend. So I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis that's currently on webnovel.com. And here we go. In less than an instant, the world as we knew it was at its end. That's right, the apocalypse. In a single blink, zombies appeared and mutated monsters began to rampage all throughout the world. Now it was the human species' turn to fight for survival and planetary dominance. On the same day that the world descends into chaos, we meet Yu Chong. Initially only hoping to get his friends and escape to a refugee camp, our protagonist sets out inadvertently building a team along the way. After a series of fortuitous events and a few serious hunches, our hero decides it's time to do more than just survive. Yu Zhong begins to form the foundations of an enormous survival plan before he suddenly discovers that he has only gotten over the first hurdle. Unbeknownst to Yu Zhong and company, the world outside of China is mostly a wasteland. Countryside swaths of nuclear radiation and an extreme shortage of supplies in the world after the nuclear explosions was quickly becoming the norm. Mutants, evolved animals, and what's worse, intelligent, out-of-control dinosaurs had quickly appeared and claimed their own sections of the planet. There were several innately powerful, evolved races which appeared that were more than 10 times stronger than humans, nearly all of them possessing bodies impenetrable by normal bullets. The fabled orcs were another of these evolved races, the leader of which had in fact enslaved many of the remaining human beings. Unceremoniously exposed to such a cold and heartless new world, Yu Zhong is faced with a choice: find a deep dark hole and hope it goes back to normal, or overcome all obstacles and struggle towards evolution. So yeah, it's a fun story. It's got a lot of craziness, similar to Fallout if you're gonna compare it to a game, but not as comedically inclined as Fallout as a game is. So I do want to go ahead and start with the first chapter and go ahead and give you guys a reading before I give you a little bit more thoughts on it, and then we'll continue on to our poll of the week. So here we go. Chapter 1, Special Summon Skeleton. Xuanhuan is a university in the city of Lijiang, a junior college belonging to the second tier in the country. In a room in the boys' dormitory at the University of Xuanhuan, Yu Chong is taking a look at his clothing in the mirror to finish dressing. Yu Zhong, while finishing dressing, quietly thought, "What kind of trouble will that little mischievous devil give me today?" Today is a Sunday. In the room there are 6 metal frame beds, but only Yu Zhong was there. The other roommates were out having fun for the weekend. Yu Zhong was preparing to go out to work as a tutor to earn his living expenses. "You mortals that look like ants, I am God. I hate to look at you weak humans living a quiet and peaceful life. From now on, I will put you all into the God and demon system." Technically God and devil system. Struggle hard, become stronger, and use it to please me. Only continuously becoming stronger will you be able to survive. Otherwise, you will die. Now, the countdown begins. 5. A strange sound suddenly appeared in Yu Zhong's mind. As the sound appeared, his eyes froze. He felt as if time froze. The entire surroundings also became extremely slow, as if time had stopped. In his mind, he only heard the sound. 4, 3, 2, 1. The game officially begins. All of you ants, struggle to survive. Following the end of the sound, Yu Zhong was liberated from his bizarre state. What is this? On the inside, Yu Zhong was filled with astonishment, and he stared at the meter-long stick in his hand, which appeared out of nowhere. It made him realize that he had just heard was not a hallucination. Novice staff, new equipment, novice level weapon, attack of 0 to 5, durability 100 of 100. Please make good use of this weapon to survive. Yuezhong, male, level 1, occupation none, title none, strength 9, agility 10, vitality 9, stamina 8 of 8, spirit 12, endurance 10. Yuezhong's mind was amazed. Strange info like this flowed directly into his head. Looking at the stick in his hand, a sense of foreboding welled up in Yuezhong's mind, so he rushed towards the dormitory door to lock it up. He then quickly opened a roommate's closet and took out binoculars. The opposite dorm facing Yuezhong was the girls' dorm, so quite a few of the boys in the dorms bought binoculars to peek at the girls. Yuezhong, with one hand holding the staff, walked towards the window looking outside. Right now it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so the students that did go out were sleeping in the dorm. Very few people were out. "Save me!" A shrill scream rang out in the street. Yuezhong looked towards the direction of the scream and saw a scene of horror. He saw a girl wearing a white t-shirt surrounded by 8 other girls. The 8 girls were crazily biting and gnawing at the white t-shirt girl. Fresh blood stained her clothes. The girl was constantly struggling and screaming, but there was no way to escape. Why is this happening? Seeing the horribly frightening scene in the distance, the inside of Yuezhong felt like a storm. He immediately put on the binoculars to look over there. Through the binoculars, Yuezhong can clearly see the situation. The 8 girls were attacking the white t-shirt girl, their eyes without spirit. They were like mad beasts biting at her body, constantly tearing chunks of fresh meat and swallowing it. The scene was so gruesome it made Yuezhong feel nauseous and overwhelmed with fear. Though in his heart he was afraid, he tried to calmly observe. The 8 girls were still biting the white t-shirt girl's tattered body. Her body was full of flesh wounds with many missing chunks. After they finished, they stopped biting and spread out, wandering aimlessly. Their walking speed was somewhat slow, much less than the average person, but they moved in groups. If you were surrounded, there would basically be no possibility for survival. Yuezhong looked at the slow girls while thinking, "Is this Resident Evil?" His eyes turned white, with mouths still covered with human blood. They looked so terrifying. He suddenly had a thought. These girls were acting just like the zombies in Resident Evil. Yuezhong's conjecture was soon verified. The white t-shirt girl who had lost her vitality was bitten beyond recognition, slowly picked herself up off the floor with both of her eyes deathly white. She staggered aimlessly around the street. "It's bad! Zombies!" Yuezhong was cold inside. If it was really like he thought, with the entire campus full of zombies, it would be hard for him to survive. Suddenly, the sound of loud knocking came at the door. "Danger! Zombies!" Yuezhong was shaking on the inside, immediately pushed a wooden computer desk towards the door to block the door. Accompanied by a clicking sound, the thin wooden door shattered. 2 claws pierced through the door. So much power! Yuezhong, who was scared, backed away. Yunhua University dorm room doors were flimsy and wooden, but for ordinary people to pierce through the door without the help of any tool was not possible. The zombies' powers were far beyond Yuezhong's imagination. The 2 claws which pierced through the door were insistently shaking, and at the same time there was the sound of the door being pushed. Yuezhong's eyes flashing while gritting his teeth and overcoming his fears, walked towards the door. He used his novice staff to chop at the 2 limbs. Yuezhong attacked more than 10 times before he was able to cut off the end of the zombie's claws. Then its 2 arms were then withdrawn. The moment that the zombie's arms were cut off, it was accompanied by a loud noise. The thin wooden door was then smashed through by a head, and a head with a big hole and white eyes. A short-haired zombie that was a student had stuck his head in, constantly struggling towards Yuezhong. Yuezhong recognized at a glance that the zombie in front of him was a member of the school soccer team. He was a classmate that lived next door to him, Xianxia. They were acquaintances, and just 20 minutes ago they were chatting. He didn't expect that 20 minutes later Xianxia would become a zombie. "I'm sorry, I want to live!" Looking at the struggling zombie, Yuezhong's eyes flashed with a complex light. He grit his teeth, and while holding the novice staff above his head, he smashed it down on it with all his strength. Under Yuezhong's full blow, Xianxia's zombie head was cut and twisted, tilting to the side. Almost at the same time, a little black book and a black coin came out of Xianxia's body and fell within the vicinity of Yuezhong's reach. A white light that was invisible to human eyes flew out of Xianxia and into his own. Yuezhong, sharp-eyed, came forward to that little black book and black coin and picked them up. Then he took a look and took a few steps back. Level 3 skill book. Summon a special skeleton. Description. Consumes 10 MP. Summons a special skeleton from the world of the dead to fight for you. Special skeleton's initial level is 1, with 6 initial properties of 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and 180 and 180 of health. Cooldown is 10 days. Would you like to learn the skill? When Yuezhong took the little black book, a strange sense of information quickly flowed into his mind. He immediately made the choice. Learn immediately. Before reaching level 30, you can only learn 3 active skills. Are you sure you want to learn the skill, summon a special skeleton? Yes! Yuzhong selected the option without hesitation. Currently, he was only worried about being able to survive. In order to progress into the future, he could not worry about using up the skill slots. Right now, just gaining any bit of strength was good. Those zombies have great strength. Being able to destroy the wooden door, he felt that hiding inside the dormitory was not safe. Yuzhong must obtain the strength to live. He will worry about the other stuff later. Right at this moment, the level 3 skill book Summon a Special Skeleton quickly disappeared into a black light that flowed into him between his eyebrows. Yuzhong immediately considered his knowledge. In his mind, he touched a strange rune, and soon a sound prompted in his head. Summon a special skeleton? You need to consume 10 MP. Yes! He immediately made up his mind and activated the skill Summon a Special Skeleton. The next moment, a bunch of mysterious incantations suddenly blurted out from his mouth. Emptiness. A giant cave appeared out of nowhere. The cave's atmosphere exudes endless death with its scent in the air. Meanwhile, Yuzhong felt a slight pain in his head. As a mysterious force passed through, his head felt a bit dizzy. Then, a skeleton left with only bones walked slowly out from the cave. It was surrounded with black mist, with 2 eyes flashing with magical flames. A strange human-like skeleton came out from the world of death. Yuzhong had a feeling of connection with it. Special Skeleton Level 1. Strength 10, Agility 10, Vitality 10, Stamina 10 of 10, Spirit 10, Endurance 5. Has skills, utilizing Bone's ability. The skeleton looked at Yuzhong, immediately went to the zombie killed by Yuzhong. Using its arms, it stabbed into Xuanhuan's body. Next chapter. So it's a cool start. It really quickly jumps into things. It gets pretty crazy pretty fast. It doesn't rely on setting up the character Yuzhong. I think it's pronounced actually Yuzhong, like Yuzhong. But it doesn't really set up his character to have too much of a backstory, because if they did, he would change so much throughout the story. He goes from a high schooler to like this moralistic tyrant, this person who runs all these, basically sets up these societies to survive, but then the societies are attacked by different monsters. He has to basically try to maintain his moralistic standard of living while at the same time protecting himself and making sure that he's not sacrificing himself for somebody who, you know, isn't worth it, because he has to put himself first in these situations. It has a different kind of cultivation system, because at the beginning it goes through levels, but then when you get to the next world, it goes basically to different ranks of evolution. So like it moves fairly at a consistent pace through the story in terms of the cultivation. Like, it doesn't seem like he goes from one rank to another very quickly. Right now it's 980 something chapters in, and he's only at this. I don't think this is technically a spoiler, like technically at rank 5. So that's kind of the pace of it, is about a new rank every 150, 200 chapters. So it's a fun one to read if you don't mind the inherent casual racism that the author puts in the first 500 chapters. Once he gets out of Earth, it opens up, and it's less of that. But I enjoy reading it. It's kind of like candy to me. It's just a fun novel. It's very similar in theme to Terror Infinity, along the lines of just the violence and the cool battle mechanics and the world building. So if you like Terror Infinity, I think you'll probably like God and Devil World. So that was our reading for the day. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you check it out. Even like, check out the first 10 to 15 chapters. Let me know what you think. You'll read through the 10 to 15 chapters in probably an hour, honestly. Try to just Google it and find it. I know that they have the most recent chapters on webnovel.com, but because it was a different translator for the first 150 or so, you may have to look around a bit to find it. But yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think. Now, let's get into our poll. And before I get into our poll, actually, I do want to say that I have 2 more codes for T.A. Miles' 6 Celestial Swords. It's a profit of about $20 on Amazon. So if you want the Audible download code for that, hit me up on Twitter, DM me. I'll give you a code for it. So just let me know. It's really cool. It's a modern day Xianxia classic. So check it out.